All right, everybody, lace up those golf shoes because today
Yeah.
we are going deep into the world of wedges. You know, those clubs that can really make or break your short game.
Yeah.
And we're going even deeper than that. We're talking all about bounce.
Okay.
And to help us really break this down, we've got Henrik Jentsch joining us today.
Hello.
He's the director over the Golf Academy, 360 Degrees.
That's right.
So by the end of this deep dive, you are going to know exactly how to pick the right bounce for you.
Yeah.
And hopefully start shaving some strokes off that scorecard.
Yeah, I think a lot of golfers, they hear bounce and their eyes kind of glaze over.
Yeah.
But it's really not that complicated, and it makes a huge difference.
So then let's break this down. What exactly is bounce when we're talking golf clubs? I'll admit I get a little lost with all the different angles and everything.
Okay, well, picture this. You've got a line that runs along the bottom of the club. That's called the sole.
Okay.
Now imagine another line going from the front edge of the club, that's the leading edge, down to the ground. The angle between those two lines, that's your bounce.
Okay, so it's how the club sits on the ground.
Exactly.
But why does that angle matter so much when you're actually hitting the ball?
It determines how the club interacts with the turf. So whether it digs into the ground or glides smoothly across it.
Oh, okay.
Big difference between a nice crisp shot and a big chunk of turf flying through the air.
You're telling me I have had way too many of those chunks in my time on the course.
Yeah, we've all been there.
But speaking of digging, I've heard about these different types of bounce. Low standard, high.
Yeah.
What is the deal with all of that?
So think of it like this. Low bounce wedges, usually around 8 degrees.
Okay.
Those are for your skilled players. Real finesse shots. You can hit those low skimming chips, even take full swings from the fairway.
Just low bounces for like the show-offs.
Yeah, you could say that. But there's a trade-off.
What's that?
Lower margin for error. If you have a steep swing, you're more likely to dig in.
With that low bounce?
Yeah.
And that leads to those big fat shots?
Exactly.
All right, so low bounce is kinda. High reward, high risk.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
What about standard bounce? Is that more my speed?
Standard bounce is your workhorse. It's the reliable one that you can depend on for most situations.
Okay.
It's kind of like a multi-tool. It can handle all kinds of shots around the green.
All right, that's making me feel a bit better.
No.
So standard bounce is safe, reliable, good for a variety of shots.
Exactly.
All right, what about high bounce? When would you want to use that one?
High bounce wedges, those are around 12 degrees.
Okay.
They're your best friend if you have a steeper swing. That higher angle helps it just glide smoothly over the turf, even if you're coming down on the ball with a lot of force. So it's very forgiving.
Okay, so high bounce is basically training wheels for your short game.
Yeah. In a way. It helps you avoid those big chunks of turf and make more consistent contact.
That's always a good thing.
I like to say it turns those disasters into smooth sailing.
All right, so we've got low standard, high bounce. How do I know which one is right for me?
Well, first think about your swing. Do you take shallow divots or deeper ones?
Okay.
If you're digging trenches out there,
Yeah.
high bounce is going to be your friend
Oh,
if
yeah.
you have a shallower swing. And to be creative with those shots, you might want to lean towards low bounce. But I think for most golfers, that standard bounce is going to be a really good all-around option.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about the courses that you play? Does that factor in?
Absolutely. The type of turf you play on can really make a difference.
Okay.
So softer, fluffier lies. You're going to want more bounce. Helps the club skid and glide. If you're playing on firm, tight fairways, less bounce can actually be better. It lets the leading edge get closer to the ball for cleaner contact.
So it really is like a puzzle. You've got your swing style.
Yeah.
You've got the course conditions. It sounds like it takes some experimenting to find that perfect match.
It does. But don't be afraid to ask for help either.
Who should we ask?
A good club fitter can really analyze your swing and make recommendations for your game. They can also help you understand how bounce can affect things like your shot trajectory and spin control, which can really take your short game to the next level.
All right, so we've learned a lot about bounce today. What it is, the different types, how it all comes together to help us hit better shots. Any final words of wisdom before we let you go?
Don't be intimidated by bounce. Understand your swing, understand the courses that you play, and don't be afraid to experiment with those different wedges. You might be surprised at what a difference a little tweak can make.
I like that. Don't be intimidated by bounce. I'm feeling a lot more confident about my wedge game already. So next time you're out on the course, take a look at your wedges. Think about that bounce and see how it can help you hit those really crisp, clean shots that you've been dreaming of. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this deep dive on bounce. We'll catch you next time.